Alright, Suwanne River paddlers, listen, I'm going to do this a different way. I tried going Facebook Live. I'm going to use my editing software, my program that I run the Papa B show from. Obviously in my studio, this is my home studio, so this is where I do a lot of my video editing and everything that I do. Listen, so dates for this year's Suwanne River trip is March 11th through the 14th. That's going to be 4 days and 3 nights. I have some unfortunate news. The cost has now gone up. It used to be $60 per person, has been for years. Unfortunately, due to the inflation of everything due to COVID, I have to push that cost out. You know, I don't make money on these trips. I break even. In a lot of years, I ended up paying more out of my pocket to make sure that everything happens the way that it's supposed to. So now the cost per person is $75 per person for this trip. That covers the outfitter that puts us on the river in White Springs and picks us in at Gibson State Park 4 days later down the river. That includes packing in your gear, packing out your gear, etc. And then, of course, that also covers food, which are dinners, for all 3 nights. The first night is spaghetti, bread, and butter. The second night is pizza, because the second night will be primitive camping, which requires a tent. I'll get more into detail the closer that we get to the trip. I'll be sharing a lot more information of what you're going to need, what you need on specific nights, how to pack for the weather, dress and layers, etc. So pizza on night 2 is going to be at the Suwanne River Music Park. Night 3 will be a choice of either chicken noodle soup or beef stew. If you have specialized requests, you know, make sure you message me just in case we have food allergies or other things. That way I can make sure there's other things available for you to have as part of this trip. So night 1 will be primitive, so to speak, but it's going to be in a raised, screened-in platform at a state-run riverside camp, which is only accessible to paddlers and hikers coming down the river. It's not accessible to the general public. Night 2, like I said, is the Suwanne River Music Park, which requires the use of a tent. And night 3 will be another stateside river camp where it's raised, screened-in platform. Those nights, you can bring a small sleeping pad and a sleeping bag rated for 40 degrees and under. The weather's usually particularly nice that type of year. It has got cold a few years on me, dropped into 30s. Here's what I suggest. Make sure you have a bag rated for 40 and under, or 30 under if you so prefer, just to be safe. If not, I usually bring 2 sleeping bags and an air mattress, or I have a sleeping pad, but sometimes I don't even bother to bring that. Depends on how light I want to pack. But I bring 2 sleeping bags rated for 40 and under. 2 reasons. One, I can use 1 sleeping bag as a sleeping bag. If it does not get to, you know, close to the 30s, lower 30s, then I just use 1 sleeping bag. But if it does drop out, I put both sleeping bags together and sleep in them both. You want to make sure that you dress for the weather, dress in layers. I'll get more detail of a packing list, how you should pack for this event. Usually is somewhere in the 70s during the day, 72 to 75, and at night, depending on what Mother Nature has in store for us, it would roughly be mid-40s to sometimes mid-30s, sometimes in the 50s. And I've been there in March where it has been in the 60s and the 80s during the day. So that's the reason why I go this time of year, because it's dry, not too humid. Weather normally isn't bad. Booking starts, of course, November 1st to March 1st. And fully refundable in between that time. So let's say if you book November 1st and you decide that you want to go, as long as you cancel by March 1st, then it is 100% refundable. All booking is done on March 2nd. So all money that has been put into the pot will go to book the outfitter, to get a shuttle service on and off. It will go to book the campsites, etc., the Suwanne River State Park, and all food shopping is completed because this is a task that gets monumentous when we get into a big group. You will be 100% refunded all the way up, including to the date of the trip, which just means I've got to be a little more proactive if Mother Nature pretty much floods us off the river. So that means that the Suwanne River Management Group decides that river levels are unsafe for a group to paddle down, then you will be 100% refunded, because that is a natural occurring event. Mother Nature decided it's unsafe. If it's raining repeatedly, we still launch, we still paddle. Regular weather events, the trip still goes on. So I don't cancel for rain because we paddle in the rain. Hasn't rained on us too often on the river. I always say hasn't often because there's always that slight chance. Mother Nature is Mother Nature. Let's see. We talked about the deadline. I talked about the camping arrangements, type of camping. So let's see. Well, I think I kind of hit everything for this group. So there's 3 forms of payment preferred. It is Cash App, Venmo, and Zelle. Zelle is bank to bank, Cash App and Venmo are through pay apps. If for whatever reason that you want a full refund before March 1st, then you will be returned the money in the same fashion that it was paid to me. And then if everything same thing, if we get flooded off the river, Mother Nature-wise, again, everything will be reversed to each party at the same token it was paid. So I want to talk a little bit about the cost of $75 per person. We talked about what that covers. This does not cover if you need to rent a vessel from the outfitter. So we meet in White Springs, Florida at American Canoe Adventures. I've known that family for over 20 years. I use them the whole time, and their cost per vessel is $100 for the 4 days because it's $25 per day plus tax. So that $25 per day, even if it's a single kayak or a canoe or a tandem kayak, the price is still the same. It doesn't go up if you want either a kayak or canoe, or if you want a tandem kayak, it's still $25 per day. If you want a tandem kayak, you need to be proactive because he has limited tandems. So if you have somebody else that you want to paddle with in a tandem kayak, if you don't act fast enough, you'll find yourself doing that in a canoe versus a kayak, which people choose between canoe and kayak all the time. So as far as gear goes, we'll talk about gear and how to pack, what's expected. I'll have the ability to take some gear, not all gear, so just be mindful. What you have, you may be attaching it to the top of your kayak. I will have paracord and other things to fasten down gear to others' vessels, so that way we can spread everything out. And if you do rent a canoe and we become a larger group, I'm going to be in a canoe with a bunch of gear. That is to, of course, cater to all for food and all that. And I will have a second canoe attached to that canoe. I call that the Mule Canoe, which is to take on more gear to lighten everybody up. So I will take on a lot of the work to make sure we get down there. And if the group gets too big, then the outfitter, and I'll call him a landfitter at that point, then he has access to get through gates to drop more equipment off that we're not going to take down on certain nights. He will bring that gear to our camp location, whether it's the Riverside camp that is run by the state. He has the ability to get through all the locked gates. So we won't be without gear. So if we outgrow the ability to pack mule it all down, which, is too much responsibility for me, then I will make sure that the gear makes it down to certain locations for certain nights. So for night 1, really, we don't need the tents because we're going to be in raised platforms. So I actually have the land fitter bring my truck down because that's easier to get 75 people's worth of gear off the river and up. They help out as well by loading their van to get the gear up to the campsite, because the campsite on night 2 is necessarily not right off the river because I want to get up closer to the amenities further up into the park. So we camp 3/4 of the way up into the park, so we have to get the gear from the Riverside up to our location. Hence the reason why I have him drop the truck off and they help out with their van. And then that requires tents, so he's also bringing our tents up. Camp location at that park will be noted. So if you do have family and friends that want to visit you while you're taking this long paddle trip on night 2, we're at the Spirit of the Suwannee Music Park. They can come in and visit. Cost them a park entrance fee, but they can come hang out for the day. And then, of course, we only pay for a limited camp, so they would have to go ahead and leave before nightfall. All right. I think I've given enough information. I will share some more. I'll do some more live videos as we get closer, going over how to camp, what to expect, what to wear, what to bring, all that good fun stuff. All right. I'm BJ Cope. Any questions, you can always message me on Facebook on the Suwanne River Suwanne River page, Suwanne River Paddlers page, or you could message me, or you can call me. If you call me, obviously it's going to go directly to voicemail because I probably won't have your number saved unless you've been down the river with me before, and I have. But if you leave a message, I will call you back. All right, that's all I got out. So look forward to seeing you on the March 2022, 11th through the 14th, Suwanne River paddle trip.